The Khufu Cipher. The wind, a dry, whispering entity, scoured the desert floor outside Giza, carrying with it the grit of millennia. Dr. Elias Thorne, a man whose skin was permanently etched by sun and academic anxiety, adjusted his glasses. He stood before the Great Pyramid of Khufu, not as a tourist, but as a man possessed by a secret he couldn't prove. Elias wasn't interested in the Pharaoh's chamber or the crude graffiti left by early explorers. His fixation was the Queen's chamber, specifically the two mysterious, narrow shafts that ascended into the pyramid's vast, suffocating bulk. For decades, it had been accepted that these shafts were ventilation, a theory Elias found insulting to the precision of the ancient engineers. They're too small, too crooked, and they stop short, he muttered to his assistant Lena Petrova, a structural engineer with an unsettlingly calm demeanor. They don't go through. They go to something. Lena, a woman who preferred the tangible truth of mathematics to the romance of mystery, merely consulted her tablet. The robotics team confirmed it, Dr. Thorne. The second shaft on the south wall, the one with the small limestone door, it ends. There is a sealed space behind it, roughly 2 cubic meters. We have permission for one exploratory bore and only one. The ministry is very firm. Elias felt a familiar thrill. This was the moment. He had spent his life deciphering a single, anomalous hieroglyph etched into the granite floor of the Queen's chamber, a symbol that looked less like Egyptian script and more like a celestial map fragment. He believed it held the key to the pyramid's true purpose. The granite door. The next morning, the air within the chamber was thick with anticipation. The high-pitched whine of the diamond-tipped drill bit was deafening. Dust motes danced in the single beam of an LED floodlight, painting the scene in a spectral gold. The drill finally broke through the dense limestone block. Lena carefully inserted a fiber optic camera. On the monitor, the team saw it. Not treasure, not a burial vault, but a small, empty, perfectly rectangular room. The walls, however, were not the rough limestone of the pyramid's core. They were polished black diorite, inscribed with thousands of minute, precise markings, a complex array of lines, dots, and geometric shapes. My God, breathed Elias, scrambling forward. It's a storage room. But what did it hold? Lena zoomed the camera to the center of the floor. There, resting on a pedestal carved from a single piece of lapis lazuli, was an object. It was small, roughly the size of a human heart, and fashioned from a metal that shimmered with the dull, non-reflective luster of old iron. It was shaped like a perfect octahedron, its 8 faces covered in the same minute inscriptions as the walls. The Octahedron of Khufu, Elias whispered, recognizing the description from a fragmentary text he'd found in an obscure Coptic monastery. They say it was the pharaoh's most prized possession, not for its value, but for its function. As the team worked feverishly to retrieve the object, Elias noticed something unsettling about the black diorite walls. The moment the octahedron was removed, the markings on the walls began to shift. Not physically, but in the way light played across them, creating an illusion of fluid movement. The unlocking. Back in Cairo, the octahedron was placed in a climate-controlled sterile lab. Elias and Lena spent 2 weeks analyzing the inscriptions. The pattern was undeniably complex, but Lena's engineering mind saw a mathematical order, a repeating fractal symmetry. Elias, meanwhile, worked on his anomalous hieroglyph. One evening, exhausted and slumped over his notes, Elias realized the connection. His hieroglyph wasn't a map, it was a key. It was a sequence of 3 numbers derived from the pyramid's own geometry, the ratio of the height to the perimeter, the angle of the main chambers, and the precise latitude. Lena, look! He shouted, pointing to his calculations. The octahedron has 8 faces, but the code only uses 3 variables. Lena stared at the object. Wait, if the 3 variables are applied sequentially, face 1, then face 2, then face 3, what happens to the remaining 5 faces? Elias's eyes widened. They aren't blank. They are waiting for input. He rushed back to the Giza site, to the Queen's chamber, and focused his attention on the now empty black room. He realized that when the octahedron was in place, the shifting patterns on the walls were not writing, but projections. The small room was a kind of ancient interface. The truth of the third passage. Returning to the queen's chamber, Elias stood exactly where the octahedron had rested. He activated the small handheld laser scanner they had used for mapping and focused its beam on the walls, mimicking the angles and sequences he derived from his hieroglyph key. As the third sequence was completed, there was a low, grinding sound that resonated through the heart of the great stone mountain. It wasn't the sound of falling rock, but of precise, enormous machinery. A section of the west wall, which had always appeared to be solid granite, slid silently inward, revealing not another room, but a narrow, perfectly straight passage that plunged steeply downwards. This third passage was clean, untouched, and utterly dark. Lena brought up the thermal scan. Dr. Thorne, the air pressure in that passage is completely stable, and the temperature is dropping rapidly. It's leading somewhere deep, somewhere cold. Elias took a deep breath of the stale, ancient air, a smile of vindication creeping across his face. The ventilation shafts, the hidden room, the octahedron, they were all components of an elaborate three-part lock. The king's chamber holds Khufu's body, Elias stated, his voice echoing in the vast space. But this, Lena, this passage, this holds the reason he built the pyramid. This is the ultimate secret of Giza. He stepped toward the darkness, the faint, geometric glow from the newly opened passage, illuminating the dust that had settled for 4,500 years. What lay at the bottom was no longer a matter of theory, but a step into the unknown history of humanity.